Okay, listen, there is no sun coming out today. Guaranteed, okay? It's sleety, it's rainy, it's snowy. Maybe three things to think about as to how to find a little bit of sliver of sunshine in an otherwise crap day. That's next on this episode of the Gratitude Journal. Ah. So I struggle with trying to figure out why I engage every Sunday with this team. I mean, talk about a dumpster fire. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Northeast Ohio. Blue sky, just like yesterday. Big, fat, puffy cumulonimbus clouds. I think that's what they call them. Gorgeous day to try out my drone yesterday. And now I'm going to give up that day to watch this team glutton for punishment. It's Matthew here, and I feel similarly as I feel about the audio version of the Gratitude Journal podcast to kind of remind myself exactly why I would put this mug in front of a camera and try to share little tidbits of gratitude with you to reinforce kind of like why I'm doing this. And I feel like if you win the lottery, it's pretty easy to feel grateful. If you get a big job promotion, it's easy to feel grateful, or you have a child that gets married. And I mean, I'm not denigrating any of those. Those are easy events in our life to feel gratitude for. But I feel like, those are lottery wins, like a lottery win is. They happen, they may never happen, or they do like once in a lifetime type thing. So the rest of the time we're kind of struggling to figure out, how to be grateful in the face of all of the things that occur in our world on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that's the purpose as to why I feel compelled to find ways to have Thanksgiving, in my life. And sometimes it has to be very intentional. And finding gratitude sometimes takes work, and it's not easy. And I think it probably speaks to the fact that, the last year or so has been, challenging for us. And I've really struggled with trying to find things to be grateful for. And as people who have followed the podcast will know, I've not been quite as active as I have over the past several years. But I feel like I wanted to share at least three things that I've been trying to tell myself lately, and reinforced by a text that I got from a very good friend of mine. And I'm not going to say his name, but he means a lot to me and has for a long time, and is kind of in the same boat a little bit as I am, in that he's trying to run a business and work for clients, and at the same time trying to be a caregiver. And when you're in the throes of all of these things, trying to perform at a high level, trying to be a caregiver at a high level, if you're in that thing that, comprises a part of your life, it's tough. And I have to put on my glasses because I had cataract surgery, which I'm grateful for, believe me. The fact that at my age I can drive an automobile without these things, it's game changer. I mean, since the first grade. And so he says to me, I don't know about you, but this adulting thing is really hard. I'm struggling to keep the plates in the air, the pressures of caregiving, keeping her meals, pills and appointments, and running the house. And it just seems like it's just too much. I got to keep moving and plowing ahead. To say I'm feeling overwhelmed most days is an understatement. And believe me, I know this so much, like you wouldn't believe. And so as I was reading this text, I was thinking of what I might say in this episode, and I can think of maybe 3 things that I could maybe share. And if he and I were, sitting over a coffee or a beverage, that I would try to reinforce. And again, this is not a salve for anything, because this is tough work. And I wish I were an expert. I mean, him asking me my opinion, wow, that's a big ask, because I don't think of myself as an expert in anything. I mean, if my hot water heater on the other side of the room over here, goes bonkers, I mean, I have to call an expert. I can't get someone who kind of knows about it. And I feel like I sort of kind of know a little bit about it, but I'm not an expert. But it doesn't mean that I can't share some thoughts. So this is why I'm doing this and taking up your time. So I worked with a guy who was since retired, who, after 20 years of caring for his wife, said to me, I jumped to another level of acceptance with this when I realized that caring for her was a privilege and not a burden. And wow, that was kind of mind-blowing. And at the same time, it was tough to accept that, and still is tough to look at it that way. But I feel like we always want to change our situation, especially a situation that is not great or uncomfortable, and we change it by wishing it were something other than what it is. And coming to this level of acceptance, like, this is the reality. And as the Buddhists say, meet what arises. I have to meet this where it is. And I have to come to some level of acceptance that what I'm doing outside of my work is a privilege to be able to manage her life and to make sure that she is fed and healthy, and to look at that as a privilege and not a burden. So that's the first thing that I would say to maybe give some thought to and see where that sits. Sometimes that doesn't sit in a very good place, but that is something that I look at and try to continually try to come to some level of acceptance. The second thing I would probably say to maybe concentrate on is creating a you space. And so I have some vocal disorders that I've been dealing with for the past decade. And because I do vocal work for a living, amongst other things, I would say to myself, if I get up too early in the morning, this would put like too much of a strain on speaking and talking throughout the day, and then I would get weaker. And I realized, though, that in this creating a you space, it was comfortable for me to do that if I just woke up earlier. Because outside of work and outside of being a caregiver, I mean, I love having my cup of coffee, especially beans that I roasted, and reading my newspapers and the websites, that give me, commentary and news and just the things that I enjoy. Like, I need that time, and I couldn't have that time unless I got out of bed earlier. And I put myself a little bit at risk, knowing that I was starting earlier in the day. And would I be weaker, as the day went on? Would I be able to perform at a high level? So this was kind of controversial for me to do that. But I realized that I needed to find a space that allowed me that little sliver that otherwise I might not get in the midst of trying to perform at a high level with work and trying to perform at a high level as a caregiver. So I think that the other thing I would suggest to you is trying to find that you space. And the third thing that I would say is trying to locate this glimmer of sun in an otherwise rainy day. Like, for instance, yesterday, for us to ride around in the car and, you know, just have fun talking about the fact that, you know, our joke for the day was, how did we get old and lose our virility? And why did this happen? And why would he or she or it, you know, the divine power that be, put this on us and foist this upon us? And so I was reeling off these things like, yeah, like we have 32 teeth. That means 32 problems. I mean, couldn't he or she thought of a better way to deal with that? And, you know, why is it that as we get older, we lose our virility? Why can't we not have virility early in our life because we can spend time doing other things? And now later in life, when I'm struggling trying to, you know, ice my knees after playing pickleball, can't I, if I can't perform at pickleball, can I perform, you know, in the other way, being virile? Why didn't that happen later in life? And so we were joking about that, like, you got that all wrong. And, you know, if I had a chance to talk to him or she, that's what I would say. And it was just fun. We were just riding around eating Pringles and laughing and talking about this. And it was like in the midst of, you know, just the rigors of the day, it was like this, like little, like space of sunshine. And it reminded me, like when we were kids, we would just love playing pickup baseball. Kids don't do that today. But, you know, for us, that was our whole world. Like, to think that you could just wake up and grab your bat and grab your glove and head to this field and play ball all day and bring a sack lunch. And, you know, after a couple of games, you ate your bologna sandwich and you didn't have a care in the world. And sometimes I'll be in the middle of a meeting and I'll think about that maroon bat that I owned and how it was my favorite bat and I had it taped just right. And when you would swing and make contact and you wouldn't feel anything in the handle and you knew that it was a great hit. It was a monster drive and it might even be a home run. And like the glove, you're standing in the outfield between pitches and you would hold the glove to your face and you would just smell like perspiration and dirt and summer. And it just, I mean, there's just no smell like it. And I remember like days where it would be raining and we would just like sit on the porch and wait for some glimmer of the sun to come through and just, you know, stop the rain momentarily so we could run up to that field and get a couple innings in before it started to rain again. And like we were looking for that little gap. And I feel like driving around and having that moment, you know, eating things we weren't supposed to eat, you know, talking about all these problems we were having with this divine person, like that was sort of sun amongst the rain. And I feel like we have to be intentional to find these things so that we're not mired in all of the other stuff. And so those are a couple things that I would probably suggest thinking about. I've been thinking about them for the last couple of days, and maybe they'll offer you maybe some solace, or you have other suggestions about, you know, how to be intentional with being grateful and thankful. And I'm hoping that this team doesn't continue to be a dumpster fire today. And if it does happen, then I can take my drone out and try to practice some more, because it's going to be another luxuriously beautiful day here in Northeast Ohio with blue skies and sunshine and mild wind and a little chilly. And it's the way, you know, the end of October should be. And so thanks for being a part of this journey of gratitude and thankfulness. And we'll see you in the next video.